Welcome to the Sheffield As Bill Sees It meeting. This is a main share meeting, and today it is with great pleasure and much gratitude that we welcome Liz W. from Buffalo, who's come to share for about 40 minutes, after which we'll open up for general sharing or if you'd like to ask a question. Thank you, Liz. It's wonderful to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Young, so much for inviting me back to As Bill Sees It. This is one of my favorite meetings to attend because it's just a beautiful representation of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. You guys are here doing the work, and it's really great, too, to be able to have an opportunity to go digging in As Bill Sees It, right? Like, it's not one that I pick up on a regular basis, and to be able to go and, flip through those pages and just find something that God touches my heart with. And this reading really jumped out at me. And I also had never really heard it before. So I'm excited to be able to talk about it because I think it's something that we can all relate to. So again, my name is Liz. I am an alcoholic. My sobriety date is January 23rd, 2013. My home group is the Soul Purpose Group. We meet here in Buffalo, New York on Thursday evening. So if you're ever in the Western New York area, please come down and see us. We are a big book-based meeting, and we like to carry the solution as well as lots of hope and be a pep rally for God. I'm excited about this reading because, again, like I said, I think it's something that we can all relate to. I don't know about you, but if you're anything like the type of alcoholic that I was, my favorite thing in the world to do was to run. I just wanted to ignore things. Anything that popped up in my life, whether it was relationship issues, job problems, financial problems, you name it, I was amazing at running away from situations. And I didn't necessarily realize why I was doing that, right? And I just thought that that's how I was supposed to live. You know what? They'll figure it out. It'll be taken care of. If I ignore something long enough, it'll just go away, right? I mean, isn't that the mentality that we're supposed to have? If I ignore something long enough, it will just go away. And the crazy thing is when I was out there running and in my cups, and I'm that real deal alcoholic that talks about on page 21, I have this mental obsession of the mind that my mind will insist that drinking again is a good idea. And I'll be better this time. You know what? I've been around AA for a little bit. I got a little bit of information. Thanks, guys. I'm good. I'm off to the races. And then once I have that first drink, because my mind insists that I do, I have this allergy. This body that absolutely demands that I put more and more booze in it no matter what. And the reality of my situation that I think that I'm going to be able to ignore the situation long enough is that I'm going to drink to be able to cover it up. And it always reroutes its ugly head, whatever the case may be. And I get into AA and I'm around the rooms for a little while, and I actually start to be able to get to that place where I'm desperate enough and the willingness meets that desperation that I'm okay to go, hey, I need some help and I'm willing to go through this process. And I get with another woman and we sit down knee to knee, and we start reading this book together, going line by line, page by page. And the truth about myself starts becoming more and more clear. And one of the things that through this process, I start to understand and don't really accept all the way is that I'm selfish and self-centered, right? It talks about in our book on page 62, selfishness and self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles. Driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity, we step on the toes of our fellows and then retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us seemingly without provocation, but we invariably find that at some time in the past, we have made a decision based on self, which later placed us in a position to be hurt. Driven by 100 forms of fear. I always tried to round that up because I was driven by 1,275,000 forms of fear, because that's who I am. That is who I am to my core, is that fear is driving me completely. And what that fear manifests is that selfishness and self-centeredness. And who knew coming into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, it wasn't necessarily just to stop my drinking. That's a beautiful benefit of this whole thing. But the reality of these steps, this process that we go through and ultimately get a relationship with a big loving God, is to remove that selfishness and self-centeredness and to be able to give me the ability to confront those fears head on. I'm given the tools that I need to be able to recognize that in this stream of life, that the troubles are basically of my own making. Anything that I get stuck in today, anything that crops up and I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. I know that I have the ability to be able to look back at it and say, okay, what does my side of the street look like? Where did I start the ball rolling? And this is only because of the gift of this program. This is only because I have the ability to look at things through the lens of a 4-step, being able to do an inventory and look at my harms, my behaviors, and my mistakes to realize that trouble that crops up in my life today, because it does, right? I have this incredible spiritual awakening because I've gone through this whole process. I've gone through this process and I become willing to live in 10, 11, and 12, to grow in effectiveness and understanding. And when I do that, it talks about on page 27, the spiritual awakening that we have, that thoughts, ideas, and emotions, which were once the guiding force of our lives, are suddenly cast to one side, and a completely new set of motives dominates me. The way that I think, the way that I act, and the way that I feel is completely turned on its head, upside down, once I have the spiritual awakening. Once I have this big old loving God in my life that allows me to look at things in a completely new perspective, where before I would turn left and I would go towards that anger and I would go towards that reaction and I would go towards being able to cut you out of my life because you did something that really ticked me off. Or that I would run away from every situation. Oh my goodness, the tax bill is in. I owe $1,800 to the federal tax. Okay, well, maybe I'll pay that at some point in time. I ran from these types of things because it was inconvenient, because I was fearful, because I didn't want to face the truth of who I am and what my issues were and the things that I did to other people and also to myself. Going through that thorough 4th step and being able to see the truth when I look at life from a completely different angle. And then I have my sponsor shine this absolute magical spotlight that I don't know if your sponsor has, but my sponsor totally has it, that is able to call me out on my absolute and complete and total BS and see things that I never even have the ability to see, that I'm rooted in the self, and this is where my troubles are basically of my own making. And then I have these tools that I can go to. One of my absolute favorite prayers in Alcoholics Anonymous is the 7-step prayer. And I think that it kind of like, it's not just for when I'm going through the 6 and 7 step, right? Like, this is something, and again, I'll just read it if that's okay. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad, because I don't have the ability to differentiate the difference, right? Like, I have no clue what God needs from me to be able to, because here's what it says. I pray that you now remove every single defective character so that I feel better, so that I feel okay, so that I can walk this planet, so that I can pay all my... No, remove from me every defective character which stands in my way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Because that's what it's all about here, guys. It's about being able to remove that selfishness and self-centeredness, not being driven by 100 forms of fear. So I step on my other people's toes continuously. The purpose of all of this is to be able to remove that gunk that stands in my way of my usefulness to God, to be able to go out and love on his kids, which was not my default setting when I was out there ripping and roaring. My default setting is to steal from you, is to lie to you, is to manipulate you, is to be able to get one over on you so I can get mine. My default setting was to go out there in this world like a wrecking ball and be what I thought that I needed to be, and to take what I thought that I needed to take from you and from everybody else. Through this process, that's removed from me. That's not my default anymore. I have this natural pause today because, and only because, I live in 10 and 11, right? Like 10 allows me the ability to walk through this life with eyes open, not just dreaming I'm awake. One of my favorite things that Mark Houston talks about, right? I walk through this life awake today to be able to be aware of these things when they crop up. The resentment, the fear, the anger, the lust, the judge, the pettiness, you name it, you throw it in there. And I'm given the tool to be able to be awake to these things so I don't react to life today. One of my favorite things to do when troubles come up is to throw more and more of me at any situation, right? Just throw Liz at it and I'll figure it out. And if I manage this and I direct this, and if you do this and if you do that and you think this way and you say this, your life is going to be better and so is mine. And that's completely playing God. I don't get to do that today. God is or he isn't. What is our choice? And I get to this place where I get to live in the solution of life, where it's not life on life's terms anymore, right? Like I used to think it was life on Liz's terms, and then I used to think it was life on life's terms. And then I get to a place where I realize that it has to be life on God's terms. Because it's only life on God's terms that I'm allowing him into all areas of my life, where my step 10 talks about, right? I'm not just bringing God into my alcoholism. I'm not just bringing God into the idea of removing the obsession of my mind around the drink, which he's proven to have done. That's not an issue for me anymore. I don't obsess about the drink at all. And for a drunk like me that's going to drink no matter what, that real deal alcoholic, that it doesn't matter what the circumstances around my life are, I am going to drink no matter what. Those old timers in the meeting that say, just put the plug in the jug, me, that doesn't work for me. I'm going to take the plug out every time, right? Like it doesn't work. I need to have a spiritual awakening as a result of the 12 steps to be able to be removed from that. And God's proven that he's done that for me. So why am I so prideful to think that I can't apply God and bring God into all areas of my life that I have troubles with? Everything. My finances, my relationship, my work. Being able to walk this life with grace and dignity and react in a way that it doesn't look like page 52 in our big book, where it doesn't look like I'm prey to misery and depression, where it doesn't look like my life is unmanageable with those bedevilments, right? I have the freedom today to be able to walk through life God-centered, knowing that if I bring the tenets of the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous into all of my affairs, things go much smoother. The gifts that I'm given in step 10 to be able to be awake to the life that I am walking through today, and to know when these simple things arise, that the troubles, that when they crop up, I go to God at once. I have this constant contact. Again, another gift that's been given to me, right? Like when I am in my head, and I don't know about you guys, I mean, I'm from Buffalo, New York. It's like 8 hours away from New York City, but I still talk super fast, and I'm Italian, and I talk with my hands, and things go 50 miles an hour inside my head. There's probably usually 4 conversations going on at this speed plus times 10, right? Like if you're anything like me, I don't know if that's how your mind works, but it's going constantly. The beautiful thing about that today is when I can catch that, when I have the awareness to be like, oh God, I'm doing it again. I'm obsessing over that issue at work that I put my foot in, and I totally opened up my mouth, and I can't believe I said that, and I can't believe, and they're going to think this of me, and I'm totally going to be demoted, and everybody knows that I'm a complete and total failure, and I'm a fraud, and I don't deserve this, and everything's horrible, and I can compound it and compound it and compound it and compound it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger in my mind. And when I can catch that because I'm awake to it, the beautiful thing about that is I can stop talking to me about me in my head or about you, that little voice inside my head that sounds exactly like me, that likes to tell me how horrible I am and what a piece of crap I am. And I'm worth nothing and I don't deserve this and I'm a fraud. When I hear that voice that sounds like me that's doing that and I can catch it, whoa, God, here we go. And I can start talking to God in my head. God, relieve this from me. It's another obsession. It's an obsession of the mind. Take these troubles from me. Let me see the truth in the situation, what's fancy and what's real. Give me the ability, God, to know that you are absolutely obsessed with me, God. And that's all that I need. I know that today. God loves me. He's absolutely obsessed with me. I don't know about your higher power, but my higher power is obsessed with me. He just thinks I'm the cat's meow. And I love that because I need that. Yes, I just said cat's meow. Where did that come from? But I need that. I need that to be able to be carried through the tough times. God being at the center of my life, God being the one and the only that I need to be able to turn to remove these obsessive thoughts that I can have where I'm beating myself over the head with a 2x4. I don't know if you guys do that, but my sponsor tells me all the time, stop using the 2x4, set it down and pick up a feather. Because guess what? We're human. My friend Mary Beth always says we're never going to outgrow our humanness. I'm never going to reach above human. I'm going to aim for his perfection, let me tell you, because I have the tools to do so. I'm aiming towards that perfect person that God would love for me to do. I'm never going to be perfect. But I have the tools today to aim towards that. And when I can start talking to him in my head, that little voice that I usually sound like me, and it's like that. Okay, guys, the reality is, it's almost like that little imaginary friend that you have in your head. Like when you're like 10, you're 5 years old, right? Like, and you're sitting next to that imaginary friend. Like, that's who God is for me today. He goes with me constantly. My conception of God. It's just easier to use that term. And let's make it clear. Let me try to make it clear for me, right? The God of my own understanding doesn't have to be the God that you believe in, that my husband believes in, that my sponsor believes in. It is intimate and personal to me. And that was the catch for me, right? That's what allowed me to finally come in here and sit down all of the way and get right in the middle of AA. Because if you would have told me that I had to believe in that, I would have said, I'm out of here. Because I was brought up to rely on number one. You don't rely on anything else but yourself. You go out there and you conquer this world. Don't step in anything, and if you do, just wipe off your boot and pull it up by the straps. That was the attitude that I came in here with, and it kept me sick for a while, guys. But I'm all over the place. I apologize. But the second step proposition tells me, do you now believe, or are you even willing to believe? I had to go down that willingness to be willing road, but the willingness was there to say that just maybe, what you guys are talking about could work for me too. And when I tell you my first conception of a higher power looked absolutely nothing like it does today. It literally read like a 5-year-old. A big old teddy bear in the sky holding a flashlight to guide me where I needed to go, and that was unconditionally loving and that was unconditionally forgiving. That's it. That's all I got. And it worked. It allowed me to make a beginning. And the beautiful thing about this whole process of our steps is it allows me the opportunity to grow that relationship and make it bigger and bigger and bigger. Because I get to these things in my step work, my first 4th step, my first 5th step. Oh my God, amends. Are you kidding me right now? I can't ignore the fact that there has to be a God in my life. To be able to go out and amend these things that I've done to other people that I ignored for so long, oh, they'll forget about it. They're not still angry. They can't be. Guess what? They know that I was drinking, so I can just blame it on that. What an absolutely beautiful and amazing gift that we get to be able to go out and have these conversations with people that I just tore through their lives and didn't think a second about it. And sit down with them and be able to amend these things that I've done. And the reality is a lot of times some of these people are like, I don't remember. You did what? Like it's this huge thing in my head and they hardly even remember it. And that's a beautiful thing. And then I have other amends where I ask if I left anything out. Oh yeah. Yeah, you did. And I get to sit there with grace and dignity and to listen to the harms that I've done and that I've caused that I had no idea. It talks about being the tornado through people's lives. Just because I've set down the drink and I'm sober for a little while, it doesn't mean that I can't still be that tornado. But I have these steps in place and I have this process available to me to be able to go look somebody face to face and correct the wrongs. And humbly ask, what do I need to do to make this right? And then do it continuously. I don't know if you've ever had to make an amends to somebody multiple times for the same thing. Not fun. It starts to lose its essence because I'm still going out shopping and spending money and not letting my husband know about it and hiding these things. My troubles are of my own making. I was 6 years sober. 6 years sober. Sponsoring people, living life, talking about how great this God was. How wonderful my husband's in the program as well. How wonderful it is that we get to walk hand in hand, arm in arm, and God at the center of our relationship and everything that we do. And I'm doing an inventory with my sponsor. We had gone back through the steps. And I didn't even realize what I was doing until it was down on paper. And what I was doing was manipulating our finances. I was in charge of paying all the bills. So I was able to rob Peter to pay Paul. And I'll just open up this other credit card because this one's maxed out and I need to put this on this. And taking Amazon boxes and hiding them in the closet and then putting them in the backseat in the trunk of my car and throwing them out at the dumpster at my home group just so my husband couldn't see what I was doing. Making sure that I was home first to get that package off the porch. I didn't want him to see how much I really was buying. Selfish and self-centered is the root of our problems. Our troubles are basically of our own making. I had to sit down with my husband and admit that I was lying. I was manipulating. I was spending money left and right. Our money, our finances. We're one. We have unity in our household. We try to live by the traditions within our relationship. But 6 years sober, I am lying and deceiving and manipulating the man that I love the most in this world. I was absolutely convinced that that was it. That he was going to divorce me. I'm going to admit all this. He's going to go running. This is the end. So I'm full of fear to do this amends. But by God's grace, I'm able to tell him the truth. And by God's grace, he has a strong program within Alcoholics Anonymous. And he paused and said, I need some time to digest this. And went out and got quiet and called a sponsor and did the things that we're taught to do here to be able to give grace to our fellows. And he gave grace to me. And we were able to sit down and write a budget. And these are the things that I need to do to make this right. And it was tough because I love shopping. And I deserve it. Right? Like it's that idea. And again, 6 years sober, this is going through my mind. It's that idea, the same thing that I used to do with the drink, right? I've had a long day. I deserve it. Oh, if you don't know, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and I have a really hectic meeting and a day coming up. I deserve it, right? I deserve to go shopping. I make good money. I deserve it. I work hard. I deserve it. Being able to apply the spiritual principles of Alcoholics Anonymous and the steps to the other areas of my life that crop up, bringing God into this situation of shopping and spending money. At first, I'm like, no, God doesn't handle stuff like that. Why not? If God is big enough to remove the obsession to drink from me, who am I to think that he's not big enough to be able to help me with these other things? And I am telling you, it was literally like I was a newcomer again. I'm grocery shopping and I'm like, oh my God, I can't go down the makeup aisle in the grocery store because I want to get this and I want to get that. And it's literally me begging God as I'm at the grocery store to stick to the list that I made. Restless, irritable, and discontented because I can't get that fix of that new pair of shoes. Are you kidding me right now? But my alcoholism manifests in other ways. My troubles are of my own making. And again, I go back to it. The solution that we have here. I'm able to apply the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous and God to all areas of my life. And when I do that, I'm free. I don't have to worry about the finances. I don't have to worry about the shopping because those are removed from me. I get to turn right instead of turn left. I get to pull my head out of the sand where it's buried in that I think that everything's going to go away. I get to be a productive member of Alcoholics Anonymous and the world today. And the most beautiful thing, and it talks about it at the end of that reading. Let me grab it really quick. Where it says, this was the AA story, and we become part of it. Such demonstrations become our stock in trade for the next sufferer. My biggest defects, my biggest faults, my biggest areas of pain that I'm able to walk through with grace and dignity and come out on the other side of them are my biggest assets today. I don't regret the past. I use the past to be able to help other women walk through the same thing. I don't know. God doesn't bring two people together just to help one. Matthew Mitchell's quote, one of my favorites. God doesn't bring two people together just to help one. I don't know about you guys, but God has the ability to bring women into my life to sponsor that are just like me. They're just like me. And in this point in my sponsorship, it's not very often. I just got a bright, shiny, penny new one. I love bright, shiny, penny new ones. But a lot of the times I get women that want to have a new experience, that want to work through emotional sobriety, right? Like we go through this process and the drink isn't an issue anymore. Okay, now we have to apply all this to life. Are you kidding me? How do I live life, right? It's AA 102. How do I apply this emotional sobriety to life? And that's what we're talking about here. And the things that I've gone through in life, the issues with my shopping and the financial spending and all that stuff, at least 3 or 4 of my sponsees have had the same thing. And I've been able to use what I've learned through that process to get through it and to not be there anymore, right? To help them. One of my biggest fears, like on my first, probably the majority of my, all of my fear inventories that I've done were 2 things: with my father passing away and with my dog passing away. My dog was my soul dog. My father's my hero. My father was my higher power for a very, very, very long time. I'm a daddy's girl wrapped around that pinky. Both of those things happened within 3 months of each other. 3 years ago. 2 years ago? 2 years ago. Almost 3 years in April. I was devastated. I've never experienced grief before. Yes, when I was younger, I had grandparents that had passed, but I had pretty much drank my way through all of that. I've never experienced grief before. The fear that I had throughout that process, that I was never going to be able to get on the other side of it. The sadness, the depression, the heaviness, the woe. When I tell you that the only way to be able to walk through something like that with grace and dignity is with God's help. I had to have God. I had to have God by my side through all of that. Did it go away like that? Did the depression and the grief imagine? No. But through working through this with God and talking about it with other people that had gone through similar situations, seeing women who had lost a parent and seeing how they worked through it with grace and dignity. And again, I bring this up only for the reason of it's my biggest asset today. I have a sponsee whose mom is very ill right now and is probably going to have to walk this walk. She was still my sponsee when I walked my walk, and she saw how I went through it with grace and dignity. And she talks to me all the time. I'm so grateful that I have you as an example of what we can do through this process. And it doesn't have to break us. And you know, at the end of the day, ultimately, it's not something that I'm ever going to drink over, by the grace of God. The troubles that are of our own making, the fear that I'm driven by, the selfishness and self-centeredness being the root of my problems, walking through this life as a taker, give me, give me, give me, is not how I live today. Thoughts, ideas, and emotions, the way that I think, the way that I feel, and the way that I act have suddenly been cast to one side, and a completely new set dominates me. I am human. I do make mistakes. But I'm aware and awake to them, and I can set my wrongs right as they happen, right? I don't have to wait for another inventory to be able to go through and to look at harm that I've done. I can make amends immediately. And the most important part about all of this, and the only way I get this grace, in my opinion, is being able to go out there and love on God's kids, being able to be of service to you. I can't be thinking about me if I'm thinking about you. It talks about that in our 10th step too. Like, we resolutely turn our thoughts to somebody we can be of service of. It doesn't say I have to go jump up and do it right that moment. I have the ability to be able to just think of the people that I know that I need to help. That 7-step prayer says, remove these things which stand in my way of my usefulness to you and your fellows. That's my purpose today. Part of the 3rd step promises, keep God close, perform his work well. He'll take care of all of our needs. That is my experience. Keep God close. That internal narrative that goes on and on and on and on and on, that's with God today. It's not internal narrative about me talking about me or talking about you, writing scripts for you. It's talking to God. Keep him close. Perform his work well. Go out and love on his kids. Stop being selfish and being a taker. And today I need to be a giver. I need to give to you what's been so freely given to me. I need to give to you a demonstration of God's love and these 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I need to be the walking big book, the only big book that somebody might ever see. By God's grace. God takes care of my needs today when I invite him in to do so. So the troubles that are of my own making, because it's still human, I'm still human. Remember, I'm never going to get above that. I have the tools to set those right now. And I don't have to live in them and do backstrokes and swim around in the ick. I have the tools in my life today to walk away from that with grace and dignity and be a demonstration to others of how they can do the same. That's all I have today, guys. Thank you so much for my life.